Justice and Aaron
All right.
for debate 3 of round 1. So, your topic. Give me the best pizza topping and why. Coin
right.
flip.
I'll take tails.
All right. Good call. It is heads. Aaron, first or second?
I'll go second.
All right. Aaron electing to go second. Justice, you are first up. Think of your answer while I quickly pin all of you. Timer is up. 1 minute 30 on the clock.
All right.
Justice,
All right.
your time begins now.
All right. So, the best pizza topping, the answer is very obvious, very easy. It's cheese. It is the most iconic pizza topping. And yes, that is a topping because there are cheeseless pizzas and people who prefer it without. So yeah, that counts. Cheese is the most iconic pizza topping as it is the standard. It's just assumed. When you go and you think of a pizza, when you go to buy a pizza, you just assume there's going to be cheese on it. And now if you're lactose intolerant or something and you can't get cheese, that's fine. But people have allergies to everything, so that shouldn't be counted against it. Cheese is one of the key ingredients of a great pizza, and in my opinion, it is more important than sauce. Anyone can make a good sauce, but getting a lot of really good cheese on there is just what makes or breaks yourself your perfect pizza. Honestly, it's just the best one, and that's why pizzas with more cheese are also better pizzas, because they just have more of the best and most important topping you could ever possibly put on any pizza. It is the cheese.
All right. The cheese. Aaron, over to you. The floor is yours. 1 minute 30 on the clock. Your time begins now.
So, while cheese is inevitably a fundamental, or at least has become colloquially known as a fundamental to pizza, I think it's very obvious, even to me as a vegetarian, that the universally most beloved and necessary pizza topping out there is pepperoni. Even as a vegetarian, I can acknowledge that those that do not partake in eating pepperoni, because I have a plethora of friends who cannot eat pepperoni, can acknowledge the savoriness, the every facet that it adds to pizza is almost why pizza has become this zeitgeist of important to us as a culture in any country. It's an international food, baby. Everybody knows it, okay? And actually, there are a plethora of pizzas that don't use cheese, including the most original pizzas didn't always have cheese. It was more of a bread sauce kind of dish, which means that everything else is pretty much more integral. Obviously, we have cheese pizzas now, and cheese has become like this thing. But in my culture, even when cheese is added to dishes in Mexican culture, it's usually considered Tex-Mex. It's not authentic. It's not real. And the same can be said for pizza. Adding cheese to pizza is almost sacrilegious, yet we've allowed it to become like a thing. And it's like, just because it's become a thing popular doesn't mean it's always right. Okay. Pepperoni. Yum, 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 nom, nom, nom. Round circles when you think pizza.
And that is time. Justice, back over to you. 1 minute 30 on the clock. Your response. Your time begins now.
All right, so you mentioned that there are plenty of pizzas that don't have cheese on them, and that's true, but there are even more pizzas without pepperoni. Pepperoni is far more of an optional topping than cheese, and you said that adding cheese to something makes it sort of unoriginal because the original pizzas didn't have cheese. They didn't have pepperoni either, so that also doesn't really help you decide between the two. I think another thing that's important to note is if you have a good pizza with cheese and pepperoni on it, both are great ingredients. But if you get a cheap pizza, and let's be honest, a lot of the time you're looking for something cheap, you're going for the oven pizza, you're going for like Little Caesars or something that's probably like a few dollars and not of high quality. Cheap pepperonis suck. They are thin, they are old, they are probably not even actually meat. Cheap pepperonis are not good, but cheap cheese, it's way closer than you might think. Cheap cheese can carry a bad pizza, but cheap pepperonis, it's like they're not even there. You can't taste them. So if you're ever in the market for like an oven pizza or just something quick, you might not get the pepperoni you're thinking of. You might not get those sweet little meat circles. You might get something that's like half of a centimeter and probably made of a tree.
All right, Aaron. Final word, over to you. 1 minute 30. Your time begins now.
It's interesting to use the cheap concept as a premise for an argument on what validates good, because that's almost like making a classist argument. And being poor my whole life, I probably never make that argument, because I can also say, being poor, that some of the cheapest things in the world are probably some of the best things in the world. I mean, garbage food like McDonald's, Burger King have historically lined the halls of schools, cafeterias, because it's just good. It's good and it's cheap. And at the end of the day, cheap is fun. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a cheap bitch, and like that's good to me. Okay, and at the end of the day too, the argument was what is the best pizza topping. And while I did make one argument towards what is historically accurate, I can also state that this is subjective. So talking down to pepperoni just because you may not like her as a topping does not necessarily validate your argument any more than my argument. I'm just saying roundy round, love nom nom nom, pepperoni. Because also the vegetarian version of pepperoni is kind of slap, and you can use it on anything, including sandwiches. Okay, it's more universal. Vegan cheese sucks. I'm sorry, I said it. I'm a vegetarian. I have more authority on that. Okay, I just do. And I think that's it. That's all I have to say. Bye. Thank you.
All right. 1 minute back and forth period. Free form discussion. Both your times begin now.
McDonald's does not line the halls because it is the best tasting food. McDonald's lines the hall because it is acceptable food and it costs next to nothing. So, like, for cheap food to be good, it doesn't have to be the best food. It just has to be good enough for what you're paying for. And cheap pepperonis are often not good enough for what you're paying for. They usually charge you extra for it compared to just getting a cheese pizza. And if you're getting a cheap pizza, those pepperonis are probably not worth that extra $1. The cheap-ronis.
Fire back, Aaron.
So quantifiably, couldn't you say that someone who lives on a farm and may have been gifted a pig could actually make pepperonis that are like the highest quality for no cost because they were gifted said pig? So that argument, once again, I'm telling you, classism is not cute. But yeah,
throw on my glasses I gotta put on a second pair of glasses here. So anyways.
And that's time. 1 minute is up. Judges, send your votes to Gapped privately in the Zoom chat. And then chat, it falls to you. Who won?
I do want to say though, vegan pizza is probably one of the best pizzas I ever had, honestly. Like, it was so good.
You don't even like Domino's.
Domino's is gross, first of all.
All right. Let's get to voting. 3 minutes on the clock. Chat, vote. Who do you think did better? Vote now. Let's move on to judging. Starting up at the top, Miffed, who did it better?
As the person who I voted for said, yum, 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 nom, nom, nom. The thing is, I have a problem with Justice taking what I consider the cop-out answer to begin with. It seems relatively unfair to say cheese is the best topping because I feel like that was not really where the topic was headed. And while it is creative, I guess, it's kind of like when that one kid in class tries a little too hard. And so I didn't really love that. And I thought that it was just like, it left a bad taste in my mouth just from the start. I don't really think either person presented like fantastic arguments, but I will say I found Aaron's much more funny, which was compelling to me. So I voted for Aaron.
All right. Germanic, who did it better?
So funny enough, I was going to start the same way Miff did, because my favorite phrase of that entire debate was roundy round, love, nom, nom, nom. It was amazing. And I mean, to follow that list, so as Justice said, one of the points Justice made was cheap cheese is still cheese. Cheap cheese versus cheap pepperoni. Cheap pepperoni tastes like pepperoni. Cheap cheese is cellulosey, it's nasty, it's not good, it can get too stringy. That's the whole like debate there. Pepperoni is the OG topic. You put out 3 cheese pizzas and 3 pepperoni pizzas in a conference room, those pepperonis are going first. Why? Because everybody knows what pepperoni is. Pepperoni is that great cuppy, oily deliciousness on pizza. That's why pepperoni is the OG American topping. So Justice made great points with cheese being that. And I feel like Justice could have made better points if they had talked about different types of cheeses and like how it's been integrated and things like that. especially within like a margarita, things like that. Like even a traditional margarita, like a margarita pizza uses cheese, like could have made the argument a little bit more compelling. And again, Aaron was just wonderful with all those catchphrases. Yum, 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 nom, nom, nom.
All right. Earthly, who did it better?
So I was initially siding more with Aaron because I thought that like pepperoni was a stronger answer than just cheese as a broad category, because like Aaron was able to appeal to a lot of specific qualities that make pepperoni good, whereas like whatever different type of cheese you use on a pizza is gonna have a very different taste, and I feel like that wasn't really addressed in Absolute's argument at all. But then it kind of flipped for me in the second round, because when Justice made the claim that there wasn't like good cheap pepperoni, I felt like Aaron like probably would have had a stronger argument if they had like refuted that by pointing to like cheap pepperoni that is good, because I feel like the whole idea that it would be like classist in that case would apply more so if you couldn't get like a good cheap version of something. It would make it more like cost prohibitive and more like less of something that's accessible to poor people. So I think without pointing to like a counterexample, it kind that like I think that was what kind of fell flat for me. So I ultimately ended up going with Justice.
All right. Sorrel, who did it better?
Okay, so right off the bat, I voted for Aaron because of some of the reasons that were just mentioned before, namely that cheese felt like a bit of a cop-out answer, but more than just a cop-out answer, I didn't really see the justification for it as a topping beyond it's more popular on cheese, or sorry, it's more popular on pizza, and its popularity doesn't necessarily make it. I never really saw popularity equated to betterness. And so I think I just bought the argument a bit more that pepperoni is viewed as more of a topping by the majority of people relative to cheese, which is viewed as more of a base layer. I also didn't really buy the argument that cheap cheese is better than cheap pepperoni. I think I do stand on the side that cheap pepperoni still tastes like pepperoni, whereas I can absolutely understand the point that cheap cheese can be quite awful. And so I didn't buy the. I dislike how the argument got dragged into an argument of which one is better when it's cheap. That didn't really feel like the right argument, but it did get dragged down there regardless. And I don't feel like either side was really right on that. So I went back to the original argument of which is a better topping, and pepperoni feels like it was a better argument for a topping rather than a base layer.
All right. Odin, who did better?
I think Aaron did it better because circle, yum yum. But if we're going off the whole cheap thing, as someone who used to work in the culinary industry, I'm sorry, but cheap cheese tastes like plastic, and you get cheap pepperoni and it tastes like pepperoni no matter what, no matter how you cook it. Even if it gets burnt, it still tastes like pepperoni no matter what. So that argument right there, that had me rolled over. We got it.
All right. Robbie, who did it better?
I personally feel like Absolute Justice had a better argument. He said he identified that it's actually a topping. He said that it's the most widely used ingredient, which is actually true. Makes a good pizza. It's actually a key ingredient. You can use different types of cheese. Some of my favorite things to order are different types of cheese on pizza. That's why I chose him. Now, the other thing is that the arguments made against cheese, like the best ingredient of international, is because it's an international food. That's not an actual point. Or a lot of pizzas don't use cheese. Okay, question mark. I don't know, that like didn't really like jive with me. Adding cheese makes pizza sacrilegious is also not a point. Yeah, so popular, you said it's popular. I don't know if that means it doesn't mean it's right. I don't know. Pepperoni is round. I don't necessarily know if that quantifies any sort of like point. Anyway, so I voted for Absolute Justice.
All right. Well, with that, chat vote has went to Aaron. 70% of the vote has went to Aaron. And with that, Aaron is the winner of debate number 3. If you believe that Justice deserves a second shot at victory, you may bring them back at any point before the end of round 1.